The goal for Brad Holmes and the Lions is
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. Matt Derry with you. It is another episode of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is a Thursday, August 29th and a Friday, August 30th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Thank you to our everydayers that are out there that watch, listen, subscribe on YouTube, wherever it is. We appreciate you. Those of you that are also sending in your voicemails for our call of the day, which we will do tomorrow on the show. I know I've been a little bit lackadaisical with it, but we had Jeremy Reisman on the show yesterday from Pride of Detroit. Didn't want to interrupt that conversation. To be quite honest, today I had a couple of voicemails that I couldn't pick from, so we may play a couple tomorrow, where we will also be joined by Mike Sando of The Athletic. Yes, the Sando quarterback tiers are back. We'll tell you today where Jared Goff is and then get Mike's explanation on it tomorrow. Mike Sando, award-winning NFL writer from The Athletic, tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions. Our broadcast today brought to you by Gametime. Where are you going to get tickets? It's Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions, and of course the Matt Derry Facebook fan page. And again, thank you for those of you that subscribe and watch us for free daily on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We got a lot to do today. Need a little swig of water. I have just been parched for the last few days. Brad Holmes spoke today, and I have been saying for weeks and months that I love the Lions' approach to the season and how they're not making giant proclamations. They're not posting giant Super Bowl signs all over the city. They're not talking about Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. Brad Holmes did today, but he was answering a question. I'm going to tell you why I'm good with it. We'll get into that coming up momentarily. A little bit of a roster chat. Brad Holmes talked about roster configuration, why he made certain decisions today as he and assistant GM Ray Agnew met with the media. We'll recap some of that. Lions have a new member of the practice squad. We'll dive into that. Quarterback tiers. And I got to give a shout out to somebody down the street, down the road. One of the voices of the NFL is retiring and is unable to do the broadcast anymore. And I just want to give a little shout out at the end of the program. We'll do that today right here on this Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Hope everybody is doing well. Do yourselves a favor, okay? Mental health in this country is a big issue. Take care of people. Take care of your people. Just do it. Take care of your people. Make sure your people are okay. Check in with them. Please do that for me today. All right. Brad Holmes today was asked about goals for the season and what his expectations are for 2024. And Brad Holmes said, win the Super Bowl. End quote. Win the Super Bowl. Take a deep breath. Realize that, yes, that's something that's never happened. It's something that's not even come close to happening. The closest it came to happening was this past season. Brad Holmes saying the goal is to win the Super Bowl does not bother me. I think it should excite Lions fans. Brad Holmes has a little swagger about him. Brad Holmes has a little cockiness about him. But I think that Brad Holmes deserves to have that mantle. I think he is confident in his ability. He took a downtrodden franchise. He took over for Bob Quinn, one of the single worst general managers in the history of the sport. And he took a 3-win team to a 9-win team, a 9-win team to a 12-win team. 2 playoff wins last year makes it 14 for those of you that do the math. And now this year, when asked about expectations, is not shying away from them. He didn't say win every game. He didn't say we'll go week to week. He didn't say get to the Super Bowl. He said win the Super Bowl. He is taking the lead from his owner, from his boss, from the owner, not his owner, the owner, his boss, if you want to call her that, Sheila Ford Hamp, who got on the microphone when they did the a uniform reveal and said, we want to bring a Lombardi trophy back. Organization-wide, That's the goal. For so long, the Detroit Lions were, well, let's just make it to the playoffs and see what happens. We haven't won a division since 1993. Let's win a division. Lions accomplished that last year. And this year's going to be tough. By the way, if you go to our YouTube channel and go to anywhere you get your podcasts, the Around the NFC North preview show with myself, Lauren Cox, Locked On Bears, Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings, and yes, the bad boy, Pete Bukowski of Locked On Packers. We all got together, did a round table. Check it out. But it's no longer to win the division. They want to win the division, and Dan Campbell has been very cautious, saying, let's just win the division and let's see where this goes. Brad Holmes was asked today what your expectations are for this year, and he flat out said it: win the Super Bowl. He said that when he got here. The goal is to bring a championship to this town. Why change that now? Again, some fans, some of my listeners, some of my viewers, you guys will say, oh boy, is he jinxing it? I'm nervous. Of course you should be nervous. You love this team. You don't want to jinx anything. Some of you are, don't say Super Bowl. But that's how they feel in that building. They're confident. They have a lot of talent. They've got a loaded roster. They've got a quarterback finally that they can believe in that's won a playoff game in this town. And he didn't win one, he won two. They feel like their defense is so much better. They've got some folks on that D-line now. The secondary no longer sucks. The cornerback room is something that you, the fans, can be proud of. So I sit here today hosting Locked On Lions on a Thursday in late August with a week and a few days left before the season starts to tell you I'm good with it, Brad. Good for you. I've criticized Brad Holmes in the past for things he said. I didn't like at the end of last season how he was playing the receipts game with the media, calling certain media members out. I thought that was bad. I think this is really good. I really support what Brad Holmes is saying, because you can't come to town and say, I want to bring championships here and not make that the goal every year. I think Brad Holmes thought with a 3-win team and Jerry Jacobs and Bobby Price and 15 kickers that he didn't still believe that his team could win. So if you come forward and say, well, our goal is to be competitive, our goal is to win the division and see what happens. No, Brad Holmes is like, our goal is to win the Super Bowl. And more organizations in this town should raise the bar too. Well, let's see what happens. Well, we're cute. Well, the playoffs. Well, improvement. Let's just make improvement. The manager of the baseball team was asked today before the afternoon game with the Angels about, hey, you guys are in the wild card chase. Oh, no, we haven't earned that yet. Cut it out. Team's feeling good. They're playing good baseball. The American League is wide open. Why not say, yeah, you know what? Our guys feel like we can make a run. Pump the brakes. Got to take our time, right? No, the Lions are like, F that. Let's go. The Lions have raised that bar. They've moved the goalposts. I love it. That's why you love this team. That's why there's Lions gear everywhere. My boy Scotty, a questionable tees. I wear his stuff all the time. We got Brad Holmes t-shirts. They're selling like hotcakes. Do hotcakes sell well? I don't know. That's a term I've heard before. Anyway, shout out Brad Holmes. I like that he answered the question that way. He's got a little confidence about him, and he should. This is a damn good team. Whew. All right, coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, let's do the business and discuss. I got to get something ready here. We have a new sponsor today, which I'm so excited about. Let's talk about what Brad Holmes said about the roster. We will do that coming up next and some of his decisions right here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Oh my gosh, everybody, you see it on the screen. I'm so excited. Locked On Lions is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Yes, 5 Hour Energy is with us. I love it. I love it. Tired after lunch? You're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after we have lunch. Let a 5 Hour Energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. What about working out? Before your workout, you want to get in shape, you had trouble staying motivated, make 5-hour energy shots part of your lifestyle and get the energy boost you need to get fit. We all know that you sometimes don't want to go to the gym. Take a 5-hour energy shot to give you the feeling and alertness so you can get to the gym. It is fantastic. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore: watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There's a flavor for everybody. Try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it is delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the only number 5-Hour Energy. That is the only, I should say. Let me do that again. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5, hourenergy.com. Get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONFB for football, LOCKEDONFB, to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Again, the number 5, hourenergy.com today, 5hourenergy.com. Go there today. We love 5-Hour Energy. Thank you for being a part of Locked On Lions. All right, so Brad Holmes, the general manager, spoke today as we're on the eve of the 2024 season. Want to do a little preseason press conference and discuss some of his roster moves today. Couple of things that took place today. The Lions released veteran C.J. Moore today. A little bit of a surprise, but C.J. Moore is out, released from the practice squad, a safety that for many years was a standout special team stalwart on this Lions team. He is gone. John Kaminsky moved off of the active roster and placed on injured reserve. Not a surprise. The Lions today also have signed former Jacksonville Jaguars cornerback / safety Eric Hallett II. Out of Pitt, was a 6th-round pick 2 years ago by the Jags. He is now in the practice squad, replacing C.J. Moore. He did not make the Jaguars team this year after playing for them last year, but Eric Hallett is now the newest member of the Lions practice squad. And we said it yesterday, right? The Lions 53-man roster or 52-man roster or whatever is just the first roster. It's not the final roster. Brad Holmes also had to say about the kicking situation. Let's start with that. They are likely going to bring in a kicker that is available to them now to put on the practice squad to give Jake Bates a little bit of competition. But Holmes said, quote, "We all crave certainty. We crave everything being coherent and all of that, but there's excitement about the unknown. I know that one thing about kickers is you have to be wired a certain way. We learned that early on, that Jake is wired right." A lot of praise for Jake Bates. Likes him a lot. Kid's getting every rep. But now Holmes did acknowledge that he thinks they'll add a veteran kicker to the practice squad rather quickly here before the start of the season. You never know. If Jake Bates, look, Brad Holmes loves firing kickers. We know that. Riley Patterson last year was really good for most of the season, had 2 bad weeks, boom, gone. And Michael Badgley came in. As far as the quarterback situation in Hendon Hooker versus Nate Sudfeld, Holmes said it best. More reps he got, the more confident he got, and they feel like he's the guy to be their backup. Going back to high school, Holmes mentioned that, in his days at Va Tech, and then transfer portaling to Tennessee. Holmes likes what he saw, and liked especially, too, that during the preseason, he ran for 138 yards. So there you go. Jake Fromm is interesting. Why Jake Fromm and not Nate Sudfeld? Holmes said when they brought Fromm in for the last week of the preseason, basically, off the street, he competed his ass off and wasn't just there to fill the space. And Holmes liked that about him. Holmes also referenced that he was really good at the combine a few years ago at Georgia, and they've liked him, his film and his mindset. And look, playing against 5th stringers the other day and going 6 for 8 for 89 yards, they liked his moxie and how he looked, and they decided to keep him. So that's the thought about Jake Fromm. As far as wide receivers go, Brad Holmes said today that agents for veteran wide receivers and free agent wide receivers have been banging on his door and begging him to take them all summer long. and that this is a destination spot for receivers. Whereas he used to have to beg agents to get players. Now they're begging him to take their clients. As far as Josh Reynolds goes, Holmes acknowledged they wanted him back. Justin Rogers reported the other day that Reynolds was offered 2 years and $5.5 million, ended up getting 2 years and $9 million and $4 million guaranteed from the Broncos. And so you win some, you lose some. But Brad Holmes says he likes Tim Patrick a lot. And he said Allen Robinson is not just a hometown feel-good story. He thinks he's still got a little bit left in the tank. Runs good routes. Detroit kid, but he believes in 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, Allen Robinson could be a part of the team. So we'll see about that. Holmes also reiterated he has a lot of confidence in Jamison Williams. Last newsworthy note from today and Brad Holmes' press conference in regards to the roster. Contract negotiations with Aleem McNeil are not exactly moving very quickly. Quote from Holmes, we haven't had anything intense going on from a dialogue standpoint, but his camp knows that we want to get something done, but it's in the infancy stages right now. Again, they could franchise tag Aleem McNeil after this year. If McNeil has a big year, who knows? The Lions were very aggressive in re-signing Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, right? All those guys were brought back in an aggressive fashion. Graham Glasgow, another one. But as far as Aleem McNeil goes, sounds like they're a little bit apart here on where this is going to go. So we'll see. That worries me a little bit because I'm a big Aleem fan, but if Aleem McNeil is motivated by a new contract and is going to play motivated all year, great. If they have to franchise tag him, they can. But you'd want to keep Aleem McNeil around. That is for sure. I'm excited for tomorrow. Mike Sando, who's a great NFL writer, and now is with theathletic.com. He does something called the quarterback tiers every year at this time, where he rates the quarterbacks. He talks to people around the league. This comes from executives and coaches and everybody else, and he puts it on theathletic.com. The survey, hold on, I'm going to read this again. Survey excludes rookies because voters have not seen them play in the NFL. Each voter placed 30 veteran quarterbacks into 5 tiers, from the best tier 1 to the worst tier 5. As far as the tiers this year, and we're going to talk to Mike about it tomorrow. Tier 1 is Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. Tier 2, Lamar Jackson, Stat Padford, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott, and Jared Goff, and Jalen Hurts, and Brock Purdy, and Kirk Cousins, and Jordan Love. Jared Goff, if you recall last year, was in the 3rd tier. So he goes from 3rd tier to 2nd tier quarterback. Remember last year we argued that Kirk Cousins was in his 2nd tier and Goff wasn't, and I didn't like that? Well, there you go. Jordan Love was 4th tier last year, now is 2nd tier. Tier 3, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, please. Tier 4, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bryce Young, Sam Darnold, Jacoby Brissett. So there's no tier 5 this year. So Jared Goff moves up to tier 2 and is ahead of Jordan Love, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, and Jalen Hurts. Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback, according to Mike Sando. Again, going from 10 down, Goff, Dak, CJ Stroud, Rodgers, Herbert, Stafford, Jackson, Allen, Burrow, and Mahomes. I can't argue with this at all. All summer long, including Trevor Sikkema from PFF, we talked about where Jared Goff should sit. Putting him in the top 10, putting him in the 2nd tier, I have no beefs with it. None. No beefs. I think that is a good way of putting it. CJ Stroud has played 1 season. You want to make an argument for Goff ahead of him? I guess you could. Dak Prescott, I know how some Lion fans feel about him, but putting Goff at number 10 and finally putting him ahead of Kirk Cousins and some of these others, I love it. I think it's great. And we'll talk to Mike Sando from theathletic.com tomorrow about his quarterback tiers. I'm excited to have that conversation with Mike. Mike, all right, coming up next, an ode to a really, really good broadcaster. I got to give a shout out to somebody. We'll do that coming up next right here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions today brought to you by Gametime. Get your tickets on the Gametime app. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime is phenomenal, and it's easy. Right now, my son's a big Colts fan. I'm trying to get into Colts Packers for the opener or the home opener for Green Bay in week 2. I know to go to Gametime. It's just the easiest place to get the tickets. The prices are right up front and good. The view from your seat, so I can toggle and see exactly where he and his friend Ethan are going to sit. We're going to do that with Gametime. Also, they have that lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. All right, wrapping up this edition of Locked On Lions, a little Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody is doing well and feeling good. We got the LA Rams and Matthew Stafford coming to town soon. September 8th will be here before we know it. We got Labor Day weekend. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We're going to do a show tomorrow. Don't you worry. And I don't know. It's exciting. I'm excited for the season to start for sure. Lions are blessed with something. All right. The fans here absolutely adore radio play-by-play man Dan Miller. I see how many of you guys click on those videos that they do in the booth with Dan and Lomas. And now I guess TJ Lang is up in the booth now with them. And Dan Miller has been the voice of the Lions now. It's, I think, around 20 years, pretty close to it. Fans loved Mark Champion too. Holy mackerel. Mark had a great set of pipes, and fans were pissed when Mark was no longer the voice of the team back 20, 18 years ago, whatever it is. But Dan Miller is beloved by Lions fans. Really is. In Cleveland today, the Browns announced that Jim Donovan, longtime play-by-play voice for them, has been doing it for the last 25 years, also has been a TV anchor, sports anchor there. Jim's been battling cancer. Oh gosh, he's been battling cancer for years and beat it, then it came back. Beat it, then it came back. And now Jim cannot do the games this year and is basically retired and said he doesn't have the strength or the voice or anything else. And it's a damn shame. We have been blessed in this market with guys like Jim Donovan, who are just great announcers. The fans adore, and they're the voice of your childhood, or they're the voice of your team. They're the tape, you know. And for Cleveland fans, I'm just giving a shout out, as I grew up in Cleveland, used to be a Browns fan, whatever, but I'm rooting for the Lions now. Jim Donovan is just a great, great play-by-play voice and a great voice of a team. When you think of the Browns, people think of Jim Donovan. When you think of the Lions now, a lot of you love Dan Miller, and you think of Dan Miller. But I want to give a shout out to Jim. I've known Jim a long time, and I wish him the best, good health, and the best of luck. It is cool, you know, that's part of the experience when you are around a team and you're a fan of a team and you want to watch everything. I mentioned yesterday, Jeremy Reisman was on with us yesterday from prideofdetroit.com. Please go back and watch or listen to the episode yesterday. Jeremy was fantastic. One thing that prideofdetroit.com does well is they always make sure they post some of the calls of Dan Miller, and they post those videos at the Lions, and the Lions video team does a great job of Dan in the booth going crazy. I don't love booth videos because I think sometimes the radio guys ham it up because they know they're on camera. I'm old school. I always thought the radio guy was never on camera. I grew up on Joe Tate, all right, the greatest play-by-play man in the history of the NBA. That was my idol growing up in Cleveland. You guys grew up on Ernie Harwell. Ernie's a god. Other than Vin Scully, it's Ernie. Ernie and Vin, those are the two greatest baseball play-by-play people ever. But it's cool to have that voice with you. And I think that that's something that I think the Lions do very well is they highlight Dan. They highlight Dan and everything that he does in the booth with Lomas and with TJ, and it makes for a fun experience. It really does. I mean, a lot of Tiger fans love Dan Dickerson. Pistons fans, come on. George Blaha is the Pistons. All right. There's no Pistons without George. George off the high glass and down. Count that baby in a foul. One of the greatest honors of my career to work with George for the 11 or 12 years that I did on Pistons radio. I love that man. You know, we mentioned Mark Champion before. Ken Cal and Ken Daniels with the Wings are freaking great. Those guys are incredibly good. Before he passed away, and I know there was controversy, but Frank Beckman doing Michigan football, guy was damn good. So we've been blessed with some really, really great announcers around here. And I just want to give a little shout out to Jim Donovan, longtime voice of the Browns, who is being forced to retire just due to his health and cancer that he's been dealing with. All right, tomorrow, Mike Sando with us. Jared Goff has made the second tier of NFL quarterbacks. We'll find out from Mike why that happened and get his thoughts too on the Lions season as well on tomorrow's edition of a Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Send in a voicemail, speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page. We'll play a couple tomorrow on our call of the day.